So this is a tomato. It was grown from seed, and this is actually a Cherokee purple, so it's a beefsteak tomato. But the big thing to think about when you're going to plant a tomato is when you get your plant, you don't want it much bigger than about this size. So you don't want it to be more than about double the size of this pot. This guy is ready to get into its bigger home. And you want to also remove any leaves so you don't bury that in the soil. So, you know, what's really cool about tomato plants is they actually have adventitious roots. So all the fuzz that you see on a stem of a tomato, if you bury that in the soil, they will become roots and give the tomato a good stability. The other thing before you get started is you want to soak your soil of the tomato really well. So that's going to decrease the transplant shock of the tomato. So we're going to take out the label. We have here a self-watering bucket. You know, we're not going to talk too much about self-watering buckets today, but one really great thing about them is there's a water reservoir that the roots will be able to naturally wick up water, and you won't have to water it as much. As soon as it gets hot, you'll really be thankful you have that. All right, so we're going to take our tomato, and I have a bucket of water, and I'm actually going to go ahead and submerge the tomato into the bucket of water, and you want to get all the air bubbles out, and that's just going to help the roots out of the tomato when it gets started. It's pretty good. And then this soil is slightly moist. Probably want it to be a little more moist when you get started, but if it is drier like this soil is, then you just want to make sure you water your tomato really well after you're done. So these leaves right here, they're the cotyledons, or the baby leaves of the plant. It's the first ones that came out of the seed. Those you want to pinch off. If you don't have nails, you can use clippers. You just want to get a clean break. Doing that right here. You just snap it off. You just don't want it to pull down on the stem. This one, you know, I might end up taking off a couple more of these leaves when I plant it. I'm going to make a little bit of an indentation into our mix. In the mix, you want to make sure you have fertilizer for growing vegetables, and ideally, you know, you're going to have perlite or something in a container. If you're planting in the garden, then just make sure you have good nutrition, so good compost, and then a fertilizer source. All right, we made our hole, and then when you take it out of the pot, you want to be gentle, kind of squeeze a little bit, put it in your hand like that. For vegetable plants, you do not want to disrupt the roots. And see how it's nice and wet? And then you plant it, and because it's a tomato, you can plant it deeper than you normally would anything else. And I am going to go ahead and pinch off these bottom leaves, stems, and so that a little bit deeper. There we go. Put it in. You want to make sure it's straight up. Push the soil all around the tomato. And you know, you can push it a little bit to give it some stability, but you don't want to compact the soil. And then as it grows, you're gonna want to pinch off some of these bottom leaves. That's mostly for airflow. So as it gets hotter into the season, it's good to have airflow. And then for tomatoes, you don't want the tomatoes to ever, you know, fall down. And if the fruit gets soil on it, it'll start to decay. So it's very important to have something like a cage or a stake. If it's a cherry tomato especially, you really want to have a really long stake because they will grow really tall if you take good care of it. A cage is also a great option. And so you put the cage in like that, and then as the tomato grows, you will tie it up on the cage, and then this will give it good support. And then you just make sure to water it, and in about a month or two, you'll start to get tomato fruit.